Hi, I'm Michael Laiskonis, Creative Director here at the Institute of Culinary Education in New York City, and welcome to our chocolate lab. We're one of the only bean-to-bar chocolate labs in the country. To me, it was a very forward-thinking decision to create something like this. Given the rise of artisan food manufacturing and sort of craft culture at large, what we're able to capture and what we're able to share with our students is a little bit of that artisan quality as well as a little bit of entrepreneurship as well. So when we're roasting, we get these wonderful baked brownie aromas kind of wafting through the room and into the hall as well. When we determine that the cocoa beans are done, when they're roasted to our liking, we simply empty them out. And they simply dump right out onto the bottom of the roaster. The next step after roasting is simply crushing the bean, removing the shell, and transforming these cocoa beans into what we call nibs that'll be further made into chocolate. So what this machine does, it's basically a big grinder that crushes the bean behind this panel. Then all the bits of broken bean will fall through various screens. They're set at an angle, they vibrate, and the broken beans pass underneath a vacuum, and the vacuum will suck up the lighter shell, and the heavier nib will pass through. So now that we have winnowed nibs, really the rest of the chocolate making process is just various steps of grinding and refining. To give you a sense of what we're doing, we could measure these individual nibs in a scale of, say, millimeters. But our final chocolate, which is basically just ground up solids and fat and cocoa butter, we need both very powerful machines to do that, but also multiple steps to go from large cocoa nibs to near microscopic particles. So our first step here is a hammermill, which simply pulverizes the nibs and forces them through progressively smaller screens like this to produce what in the industry we refer to as chocolate liquor. There's no alcohol involved. People get excited. But it's simply just ground up cocoa nibs with nothing else added. So this is where we're going to take that coarse liquor, the cocoa butter, the sugar that we add, anything else we would actually want to add to the chocolate. We would add it to this ball mill, and it's here where we're going to get down to that near microscopic particle size. The machine agitates. All of those ingredients in the chocolate find their way among those steel balls, and that's what crushes those particles down smaller and smaller. The chocolate will spend anywhere from 6 to 8 or even 10 or 12 hours in this machine, depending on the variables. And it's after this process that our chocolate is nearly done. So really the final step is taking the chocolate that we've made and tempering it, which is aligning the crystals of cocoa butter in just a certain way, molding into chocolate bars, and then we can finally eat it. We're going to take a portion of our chocolate, about 2/3 of it, and we're going to pour it onto the marble. What the marble is doing is it's pulling heat away from the chocolate. In other words, it's cooling it. We're going to help that along a little bit by spreading the chocolate out, covering the entire surface so it cools quickly. But also we're moving it around, we're creating a little bit of agitation. So we're spreading it out, we're pushing it back in the center, spreading it out again. And this rapid temperature drop, in addition to the agitation, is starting to crystallize the cocoa butter. Some of that cocoa butter is turning into a solid, but in a way that we can control. So the chocolate that we started with was probably in the neighborhood of about 115 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Here on the marble, we're cooling it down to roughly 84, 85, 86 degrees. So by adding the cooled chocolate back to the chocolate that was warm, the temperature is going to rise again. And that's going to give us a final working temperature somewhere around 88 to 90 degrees. So I'm going to transfer our chocolate to a pastry bag here. I have our solidified chocolate bars. All they really need is just an invert and a light tap. And we're ready to eat.